Okay, so we are going to start a new one here, and we're going to take a look at Scalar. So let's do a new live set. Now I'm doing it on the computer. Scalar is practically the same thing on the iPad. I use them both. So I've been using Scalar through the process of beta testing. So I'm talking a little bit low. I have family in the house. Some are asleep, some aren't. So bear with me on that. I'm going to grab a piano right now. So give me just a second here to set this up. Okay, got a piano in there. I'm just connecting Scalar to that piano. It's a little different than the DAW, but obviously when you get on the iPad and use it, you'll do the same type of thing. Okay, you'll have it set up as a MIDI effects basically. Okay, so here it is. Here's Scalar. Hopefully you can see it. I'll try to move it more center. When you come in, it usually is depending on which one you use, because there's one that has where they have the sounds. You can see all the different sounds available within it. I usually turn mine off. I'm using it more as a controller to control other things. Now, what I'm doing right now is my iPad mini using KB1 is my keyboard. All right, so that's why you don't see the iPad, but we're using this just to show you. So there's different features, like one, you can detect MIDI or even bring in audio and detect audio by opening a file, and it will pull the chords in for you or what it thinks the chords are. Then there's scales, where you can pick a scale if you have an idea. And what's cool about Scalar is they tell you kind of the style of what it is, like whether it's happy, jazzy, etc., etc. Let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah, there we go. Now you can see it. So you can see, here's a bunch of different scales. Here's what the kind of style they give off, and then you can pick from that if you want. A lot of people will start from songs, and so you'll pick a style of music. So let's say if you were picking, let's just pick like contemporary R&B, boom. So we pick one, and you'll see it gives you a list of chords. Now the way Scalar works is, for the most part, this is the way it works. Every 4 chords are like, you think of it like 4 beats, right? 4, 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then here starts the next 4. And sometimes you'll notice it, particularly in popular music like R&B, hip hop, stuff of that nature. See how it starts with C9? Here's the next section, starts with C9. They both finish with G diminished 7. But these are practically the same chords, repeated twice. That's what all it is. It's 4 chords here, repeated twice. So they're showing you that. So here's what it sounds like. And they're saying this chord progression is in C, Dorian mode, which is kind of jazzy, bluesy. So watch. Then it repeats. So if you look down here below, you'll see this is a 1 chord, a 3 chord. This is a 4, I believe, or 6 rather. I'm sorry, 6. 1, 3, 6, I believe. And then this is a 5. If they're a lowercase, like a lowercase v, that means it's usually a minor or a diminished of some sort. If the numerical thing is like a uppercase, it's usually a major. So major first minor. You can look up here to verify it, but you see how those 3, the number 3 there for the 3 chord is all capital ones or whatever, and Roman numeric. That lets you know it's going to be major. And if it's lower, you'll see it's a minor. So that's pretty easy to remember. Okay, it can get technical, but we'll try not to go that far. So there you go. So this is a simple one to go with. So what you can do in Scalar, which is cool, is you can link these chords to your keyboard. This little button here links it. And so this Scalar thing, I'm gonna have to show a few videos because it's not like one thing and you're done, boom, that's how fast. But this will get you started. All right, so you see I press this, now it's blinking, and it tells my keyboard that it's C2. Right there, we're gonna start, which is actually C3 on the keyboard. So you'll see here, I'll try to put this in view for you. C3 starts the very first chord. You see it? So this is the first chord, second chord, third, so on and so forth. And if you want to test it, you can test it here too, Arch. It'll be 1, 2, 3. Okay, but if you press it here, if you can see this, you'll see the white below the C2 right there, that little white thing. That lets you know which one you're on. And it's only playing on the white keys. You can change that. I'm not going to get into that right now because you got to do a little menu dive to change it, where you can put it on different notes if you want it to be on all of them. But I prefer it on the white keys. It makes it easier no matter what I'm playing. Okay, so next step. You want this to transfer to here. So the way I've done, I routed mine. You'll have to route it in whatever DAW you use or whatever. If you're in AUM, you can put it like below or even over on a MIDI track, however you want to do it, and just route it to the actual instrument you're playing, and it'll do the same thing. All right, so let's say you want to use this one, that's fine. You could just go right ahead and use it, but let's talk about some more features. So there's the artist mode, which comes with a bunch of different artists who, some of these are YouTube artists, some of these are like Curtis King, and you can MG the Future. Some of these are names you'll see on there on YouTube. You'll find them. Some of these Bro Beats, there he is right there. So look through those. You'll find different progressions they like to use. And then you have user, which is where I live probably the most, where you can import chords, sections, or you can even create your own and bring them in and save them and then reuse them in here. I live in this section because sometimes I'll buy packs of people's chords that they put together. So for most of you, when you first start out, you won't have that. So you'll start with either you'll go into here and find a style that you want to go under, or you'll use artists, or if you really know the scale that you want to play in, then you can just go in and pick the scale. So I'm going to do, let's do this again. We'll pick something different. I'm going to pick Bossa Nova, and we'll pick this one. So this is an interesting one because it's 5 chords, which usually means that the last chords are played half time, right? So it's like that, right? Of course, this is all just set up for you to use. You don't have to play it in the same order. You can switch the order up. And one trick is, let's say, well, everybody has that same key they're using at the start. How do I change it? Right here, you can see these arrows. Oops, you can't see those arrows because I'm zoomed in too close. I apologize. There you go. You see these arrows here? You can change, watch it right here, it's gonna change. You can change the key, pitch it down like semitones like that, so that you use something that's a little different if you want to switch it up. So there's what it is. We'll switch it 1 semitone down. Now you're in a different, so you have the ability really quickly to have many different progressions at your exposure, that didn't even come out right, but you know what I mean, that you can use. All right, so that's basically coming in, just grabbing something. So let's say you want it to sound more human-like. How would you do that? Well, there's a Humanized feature, which if you click it, you see it blinking, and there's a drop-down menu. You can set it for velocity, timing, or both if you really want it to be. The timing will sometimes be really bad, so I don't usually mess with that, but I will do velocity. If you do velocity, it's gonna, it's gonna vary it a little bit. But you also can, it depends on what DAW you're in. Sometimes you can, if you're in AUM, you might want to use the humanized velocity. But if you're in like a Beatmaker 3, or if you're in like a actual AUM or Logic, Logic or Ableton, the humanized feature can be not as important because you can kind of do that already in there. So I don't see it as necessary as much. But if you like it, you like it, right? So let's again listen to it. So that to me sounds a little bit better than if I take it off and I just go. It's just playing the chords straight. There's no variation in the notes. And especially if you're on here, if you're on a keyboard where you have the velocity sensitivity, you can kind of manipulate it a little bit better. So that's a pretty cool feature. I'm not getting into voice groupings. Key lock, I'll show you what that is. Key lock allows me, kind of like I've shown in other videos where in like Atom, you could go in and lock the scale so that all the white keys or whatever you want to do are locked. So let me show you in here. Hold on. So if it's on in a scales note map, because we're in, let's do the white keys. So every key I play is all in scale of this scale, the D Dorian mode. So you don't have to, that's a cool feature that I use. You don't have to worry about trying to figure it out. For the chords, I would use Humanized when I'm playing a melody in here or a bass line. I don't use Humanized because you're playing single notes. So you're gonna typically play it in that way. This video is gonna be a little bit longer than normal because it takes a lot to explain all this. All right, so then there's performance, which is a pretty cool feature. There are so many performance styles in here. A lot of people will migrate to like arpeggios or strumming, but you can see there's rhythms, bass, melodies, all kinds of stuff, and it gets even deeper. Let's just do something simple. Let's just do strumming. So now you can pick whether you want it to alternate, you want to go down, up, or even random strumming. Let's use alternate. Now you can pick the speed. How fast do you want it to, or do you want it to be random? I don't use this that much, but if you need it, you need it. So let's do fast, and then I'll show you what. It staggers the notes is basically what it's doing, right? And it's gonna do it and alternate. So whether it's gonna be down or up, it's gonna just depend. It just does both. Let's go faster. Let's do slow. Maybe it'll be easy to hear it. See? So depending on what you want to do is strumming it at that speed. Now in tonality, I know a lot of people know I like tonality a lot. There's a strumming feature to do it with your hand, which is kind of cool. So that's fun to use. You can add different rhythms and stuff. So performance is cool. Now watch, it'll do it for you. Okay, so you can literally use this play button and play it back if you want to hear all these chords played. I don't do this that much, but I'm just showing you that it's a feature there. This section here is different voicings. It gives you an octave, basically the chords, roots of the chords, right? But you also can look at variations. And you can use this section too, and you can see you can MIDI map it to the notes. So same principle up top. You can change the octaves as played in. Down at the bottom is one that you might use a lot if you're trying to write songs. Can you see the bottom? No, you cannot. I'm gonna have to zoom out a little bit. There we go. Where you can build your patterns. So this is probably not a good song to build patterns off of because it's only 5 chords. So I'm gonna pick something where I have a bunch of chords. So you'll see if you have a bunch of chords even past the regular amount, there's a little bar right here. So you can grab that and slide over. Look how many chords there are there. You can also just move chords around if you want to. But let's say you picked, let's lock this for a second so you can see how many chords are in there. I'm gonna take that performance off. And you can move around as much as you want. So I'm gonna show you some things here. I'm gonna drag. You can drag chords from up here and pull them down here. I'm just gonna pick some chords at random. We'll start with that one. Okay, so these are pretty much the same chords. There's just variations of it. So you see I picked some chords that are random. Now I'm gonna remove this, right? And I'm gonna put it down here so that I can use the chords in the pattern I just made. And you can play them. So I'm just making up a rhythm for myself based on the chords that I picked. Humanize those, put them at velocity. So you can see how quickly you can come up with a chord progression because you're getting fed these chords that are amazing. Now this gets really deep, and like I said, I'm not gonna go that deep on this video, but if you right click on them, you can see, and the app is the same. All this stuff applies for the most part. How you do it, I mean, it may vary a little bit depending on what you're using, whether you're on the iPad or on the computer. But you can see how deep it can go. You can edit the chord. You can find common tones of the chord, substitutions. So that's one of the coolest things I think I like about it. I'm going to remove all these by selecting them. You see that? Get rid of them. Just hit delete. And I'm going to pick one chord. I'm going to show you something. So let's say I didn't have all this. I only have one chord that I want to work with so far. See, it's a G minor 9. If you click this button, suggest, it will highlight the chord, and then it will pop this box up where you can pick tonally or per the scale different chords that fit. So these are suggestions, right? So click this chord, listen to it, and then just pick one. I don't like that one. That one's okay. And there's an arrow here, so there's more. Go back and listen. I'm gonna take that one. Now it's gonna suggest the next chord for you. It's one of these right here, and you can see in here, I'm not gonna count them, but there are quite a bit. This is what makes Scalar amazing, is that you have so many ways to create, and this is only like probably 25% of what you can do with this program. It gets really deep. Some people won't like that because they like the simplicity of things. Tonality can seem complicated too if you're not familiar with it. This one is complicated, but it advances your abilities so much faster than any other thing I've ever used as far as finding chord progressions. So I'm just gonna pick one for right now. So let's just say that's all I want. I'm gonna go off of suggest now. So we can lock them. There you go. So you can use the suggester if you want. Obviously I have chords that are already kind of in the right keys, and I don't have to do a lot of thinking on this. I just pick it and go with it, but that's one way. There's also Midi Capture. So Midi Capture is you play it, and when this button is clicked, it's recording how you play it. Then you're allowed to drag this onto whatever MIDI you have. So let's do, okay. All right, so let's do a Midi Capture. Here's MIDI. I had to move it down so I could see where I was at. Okay, let me do this. All right, can you see it? Midi capture. So click it. It says it's now recording MIDI. So whatever I play, it's going to record it. Hit stop. And now the MIDI's there. So all I have to do is use that drag feature down below and drag it to the timeline. So watch. Drag it up here, drop it wherever you want. And there's what I just played. If I click in, you can see it. There it is. So I did not play that to a click track. Hold on a second, I'm getting wild here. Okay. So it's probably off. It's not going to be in time here, but see, so it captured the rhythm of how I played that. So that's Midi capture. Let's delete that now. I'm not going to keep it. And that's a great feature. Turn it off or hit clear and it takes it away when you're done. So you didn't even see that because it's not in frame, sorry. So it'll be clear right here and you just hit clear and that's how you get rid of it. In fact, I could do it one more time just so you see it. Stop. You can drag and then when you finish this right here, just hit clear and it'll clear it out. You're done. All right. So this is going to end this session, 20 minutes, over 20 minutes now in this video. We'll talk about more. Of course, there is all these you can use in here if you want to use the sounds that are in here, whatever reason. If I use bass and I'm playing my bass line and I want to use this, but I want to stay on the same scale, that's one of the things I do love about Scalar 2. That is there if you want to use that. Some people don't like that, but the key lock, use the key lock. Set it to the white keys. And now you got all your notes, right? So if you play a bass, let's see if I can do this without, I'll show you real quick on a bass. Scalar. Okay. I'm gonna actually pick a bass in Trillion that sounds halfway bass-like. Okay, there's a bass. So you hear the bass? Okay, so I have it set to scalar. So if I go back to scalar, so every note I hit is in the bass, or in the scale. So if I'm playing anything up here, these won't be good for bass like that, but if you want to use them for like, once you play the chords and you lay them down, and let's say you don't know the notes, because a lot of people don't know the notes. They don't know exactly what note goes with what. You could play just about anything here and it'll sound right, because it's locked to that scale. So then you can just use your ear and make a cool bass line just by using your ear of what sounds good. Okay, I did go way over what I wanted. So that's Scalar in a nutshell. There's so much more to it. For instance, if you want to see the guitar, you can see the scales in the guitar. So all the blue notes represent notes that are in the scale within the guitar. And that's Scalar, sort of, kind of, because there's so much more to it, right? But you can see how you can use all those variations of styles of things just to create. And the fact that it can detect another song, like I've taken like snippets of a song where I like a certain portion of it, save it as an audio file and bring the audio file, and it'll detect from that audio file what chords those are. Then you can take those chords and either manipulate them or play them in a different pattern or whatever you want to do just to get chords from a song. So it's kind of like a tonality mixed in with another app that I use a lot, which you guys, Chord AI. I think that's what it is. Yeah, Chord AI, which can detect chords. So you have that kind of feature in there, plus scalar, plus a chord jam, because you got pattern bass and chord jam. I know I'll use that pattern bass stuff. And we haven't even got into like editing. Like here, you can actually edit the song and make the inversions, the semitones, how many times it's going to play. You can do chords here and make, like you'll have a suggestion, your chords, right? But then you can also have a bridge part that you make, which is, and then you can create and lay out the chord patterns. And then this is probably the one that I was talking about that is probably I would use other than that, is that you can get a suggestion for a bridge, which writing a bridge can be challenging in a song. So you can have a bridge that helps you lead back into the main chord progressions. So scalar is pretty intense. Don't let it overwhelm you though, because some stuff you may choose not to use, some stuff you may use. And that's okay. If you don't use it, you don't use it. But if you do, you'll see that it's so much good you can come up with. I mean, I've used sometimes the same, like anything, and I'll just use it multiple times, because if I change the scale, it's gonna sound different. If I play it a little different, it's gonna be different. I'll pick random chords within there. I don't even follow the routine of 1, 2, 3, 4. You just start anywhere and pick something, right? Of course, it's set to the bass, so you can't hear it right now, but yeah, use scalar in that way and try it out. Try to get practicing on it, and you'll find that it comes in time. Just like when I heard a lot of people say they didn't know how to use tonality, and so yeah, it's like that, right? You're gonna have moments where you don't know how to do something, but if you practice with it a lot, and I'll do more videos to try to help. And if you find some things that you think are cool, share them with me too, because I'm all about learning, so it's cool. All right, that's it for this video. I went way past what I wanted to do, but I really enjoy scalar. It's one of my favorite. I actually use it just about on every song, to be honest with you, especially when it comes to progressions, trying to figure out chord progressions, because I can play a little bit, but these different inversions of them, I don't have that all in my memory. And I'm like most people, you sit down and you're like, what am I gonna play? Like you might not be inspired. So this is also an inspiration app to get you going, to get you listening to different styles, and don't be afraid to try different things and see what you come up with. All right, 28 minutes in, this is the end of this video. Ask me questions, I'll do my best to answer them. And at the same time, if there's some feature that you want to see in a video on this, let me know, and I'll make a video about it. All right, hope it helps. Bye.